What's up, everyone? We're going to be going through the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now, don't forget to like this video, as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video, clicking that button down below. And if we get 600 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now, I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 20 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now, a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 2 picks wrong, got 20 right, which is a 95% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 95% win rate. So we are on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 95% win rate and get 20 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon, which will be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $17,875 just yesterday, and another member who won $450 for the 5th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description, so go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to Shamir Dennis 4555 who said just joined, let's go. Shouts out to also Uwu LP8XW, said finally a good video, nice hits. And shouts out to James Jr 4279 who said great video, like the content. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to be talking about is none other than Bam Adebayo, and this one is for 10.5 rebounds, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Bam Adebayo, we actually have seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we see that on December 22nd, faced off against the New York Knicks, had 9 rebounds there. December 24th, faced off against Toronto Raptors, had 12 rebounds. Then December 30th, faced off against Denver Nuggets, had 10 rebounds there. 14 rebounds against Detroit Pistons on January 2nd. And then January 4th, faced off against Minnesota and had 9 rebounds there. So it has been pretty interesting to see. Obviously, looking at someone like Bam Adebayo, we have definitely seen him, go on the under quite consistently. But looking at this matchup, we do also know that Bam Adebayo and Miami Heat face off against none other than New Orleans Pelicans. Now, looking at his average over the last 5, his average over the last 5 is also 10.8. So I think that's, something to also be wary about as well. But looking at someone like Bam, what we also do know when it comes to this matchup is that looking at both these teams and where they do actually lie, starting off with Miami Heat. Now, Miami Heat have gotten off to a pretty hot start in the season. They have fallen, however, recently, and it has been a little bit tough for them, and now they currently rank 8th in the Eastern Conference. So they have a record of 19 wins and 16 losses. That's a 54.3% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 12-6 from home, 7-10 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at someone like Bam Adebayo, we have definitely seen him, struggle just a little bit in the rebounding sector, and also the team in general has also struggled, but they face off against New Orleans Pelicans as well. Now, looking at the Pelicans are also struggling quite a lot. They rank 15th in the Western Conference, and they have a record of 8 wins and 28 losses. So that's a 22.2% win percentage there. They're also 6-16 from home, 2-12 from away, and are currently on a 6-game losing streak. So very interesting to see from them. But looking at Bam Adebayo and Miami Heat, they face off against a New Orleans Pelicans team that, when we look at Pelicans and where we do see them ranked offensively when it comes to rebounds, we see that they rank 24th, actually allowing 45.9 rebounds per game. So they do allow a lot of rebounds. So why do we like the under for this situation? And a big reason is that we like the under for this is due to the fact that when we look at someone like Bam Adebayo, we like the under due to the fact that New Orleans Pelicans do a fantastic job at restricting rebounds to the big man position. So whether that's power forward or center, we definitely have seen, New Orleans Pelicans do a great job, especially as of lately, at defending that. Now, Bam is in a position where he does switch between between the two. Sometimes he plays power forward, mainly does play center, and we just definitely see a lot of the defensive focus to be on him as well. When it comes to Pelicans, the way they do like to play is that they like to put a lot of defensive pressure on star players and try to let the others do a lot more of the heavy lifting. So we are expecting Pelicans to really focus their defense on Bam and try to stop him as much as they can. So looking at actually Bam Adebayo as well coming into this matchup, we do also know when it comes to, Bam Adebayo and also the matchup here, looking at what the pros do have him at, starting off with this, we do also have to mention that we have actually Bam for 10.5 rebounds. However, the pros do have him for 9. So it is pretty interesting there. Now we have him favored for the under in this situation, but we are going a little bit, against the grain here because when we actually look at it, obviously it is a different line, so it is a little bit more difficult to tell, but technically I would say we are going a little bit against what the bookies are saying there. However, projection wise, we are actually sticking to it because they actually have him projected for 10.2, which is actually under our line as we do have him for 10.5. So obviously they're going off the bookie line, which is completely different to us, but technically for us, we are agreeing with the projection here because we do like the under for 10.5. And looking at where he actually has done over the last 15 games, when we actually adjust it to our line for 10.5, we have seen him go on the under in 60% of those games as well. So although Bam is a great player, we definitely have seen him, struggle at times when it comes to hitting this line as well in general. So that, with a mixture of the fact that Pelicans do a great job against the big man position, and also the fact that he also has struggled at hitting this line consistently, we definitely see him going on the under here. So for that reason, Bam Adebayo, 10.5 rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about Jaylen Wells. So Jaylen Wells has been a fantastic player for Memphis Grizzlies, and this one is for 18.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and this one actually is for less. Now looking at Jaylen Wells, we have seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at those 5 games, you see on December 24th, faced off against Utah Jazz, actually had 17 points, rebounds, and assists there. Then December 27th, faced off against Milwaukee Bucks, had 19 points, rebounds, and assists, or PRA there. After that, we saw December 29th, faced off against Washington Wizards, had 21 PRA, then 20 PRA against Philadelphia 76ers on December 31st, and then faced off against the LA Lakers on January 3rd, and had 9 points, rebounds, and assists there. So pretty interesting to see. Obviously, looking at someone like Jaylen Wells, we do like him for the under, and we have seen him go on the under, in 2 out of the last 5. But what we also do know is that when we actually look at his average over the last 5, it is also 17.2. So significantly, I would say a little bit on the under there. But looking at this matchup, the Memphis Grizzlies have themselves another back-to-back matchup, for Jaylen Wells against none other than Los Angeles Lakers. So for that reason, we do very, very much like the under for this situation here, because looking at where both these teams do rank, starting off with their just general season ranking, looking at Memphis Grizzlies have gotten off to a little bit of a poorish sort of start to the season, but they actually come in at the actual 10th spot in the Western Conference. Now they have a record of 15 wins and 19 losses, so it has been a little bit tough for them. On top of that, we saw 44.1% win percentage there, so it's definitely been a bit of a struggle for them in there. But looking at this as well, we also do know that they are 7-9 from home and also 8-10 from away, and are currently on a 3-game losing streak. So it hasn't really been the best for them for sure. Looking at their matchup, which is the LA Lakers do come in at the 5th spot in the Western Conference, and they actually have a record of 21 wins and 11 losses. That's a 65.6% win percentage there. And on top of that, we also do see that they also do have a 9-6 record from home, 12-5 record from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now, coming into this matchup, we do also know when it comes to the Lakers and also, Memphis Grizzlies, looking at where Lakers do rank defensively, we do see, starting off with points allowed, Lakers do come in at the 18th spot when it comes to points allowed. So they actually do rank 18th and allow 117.4 points per game. So they do allow quite a lot of points to some extent. Then assist allow, we see that the Lakers do also rank somewhat pretty low tier as they rank 23rd, actually allowing 27.7 assists per game. And then rebounds allow, we see that the Lakers do rank second, only allowing 40 rebounds per game. So they've actually done a pretty fantastic job there. Now, coming into this matchup, we do very, very much like the under, however. And a big reason being is that when we actually look at the Los Angeles Lakers, we do see that they do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the forward position. And this is definitely due to the fact that Lakers do have some great defensive, forwards in their team and also centers. And it's definitely going to cause a lot of havoc for someone like Jaylen Wells, especially since Jaylen Wells, I wouldn't say has the highest usage rate for this team. Yes, he does have a decent usage rate for sure, but compared to other players, we definitely still see him going on the under in this one due to the fact that when we look on a per position basis, we definitely are expecting the under for it. Now, for someone like Jaylen Wells as well coming into this game, we do also know that, Memphis face off against a Lakers team that do like to slow the pace down quite a lot. And because of that, coming into this matchup, we are expecting a little bit of a slower pace game for someone like Jaylen Wells. And as we always know, slower pace leads to less volume leads to less opportunity to score, rebound, and also play make. So overall, we definitely see him going on the under in this case. Now, when we look at what the pros do have to say, so obviously looking at points, rebounds, and assists, we have him for 18.5, but they actually have him at 17.5. So it is a little bit of a different line there. So it is kind of difficult to go off the actual bookies and what they're also saying as well, because it is a different line. But what we can also do see is that they actually have projected for 16.2 points, rebounds, and assists. So that's actually leading to the under for this one. So that's why coming into this matchup, we do very much like the under for this one for someone like Jaylen Wells coming into this game for sure. Now, yes, he has done a fantastic job over the last 15 games for sure, and we definitely have seen him go on a little bit of a streak going on these overs, but we are expecting a different sort of matchup due to the fact that Grizzlies are expecting some sort of injuries to return, in a sense that some of the injuries that they have had, or some players that have missed out on games, or Jaylen Wells has done very well. We are expecting some adjustments to be made, game plans to change, and because of that, it definitely can lead to the under for this situation for someone like Jaylen Wells. So unfortunately, we aren't really expecting him to have that high of a usage rate as much as we have seen from him in the past, and we definitely are expecting that to lead to the under. So Jaylen Wells, 18.5 points, rebounds, and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting to the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than Jaime Jaquez Jr., and this one is for points and rebounds for 20.5, and this one is for more. Now, looking at Triple J, we actually have seen him do a fantastic job over the last, 5 games. We saw on December 27th, faced off against Atlanta Hawks, had 21 points and rebounds there. Then December 28th, faced off against Indiana Pacers, had 34 points and rebounds in that matchup. December 30th, faced off against Denver, had 23 points and rebounds. Then January 2nd, faced off against Detroit Pistons again in another matchup, and had 22 points and rebounds there. Then 9 points and rebounds against Minnesota on January 4th. So as I mentioned before, we have seen him do a fantastic job over the last, couple of games for sure. And coming into this one, we do very, very much like the over for this situation once again against their matchup, which is the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, looking at where both of these teams do lie, obviously both teams are, somewhat in a somewhat of a situation, because we have seen Miami Heat struggle a little bit coming in at the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, they have a record of 19 wins, 16 losses. That's a 54.3% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 12-6 from home, 7-10 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. And they face off against the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, looking at the Pelicans aren't doing any better because they currently rank 15th in the Western Conference, and they have a record of 8 wins and 28 losses. So this one's an interesting one because not only that, they have a 22.2% win percentage there. And on top of that, we also do see 6-16 from home, 2-12 from away, and are currently on a 6-game losing streak. So they have definitely struggled quite a bit there. Now, looking at where New Orleans Pelicans do rank, we do see that they rank 28th when it comes to points allowed, and they actually allow 123.1 points per game. So they allow a lot of points per game, and looking at also rebounds allowed, we do see that the Pelicans rank 24th when it comes to rebounds allowed, allowing 45.9 rebounds per game. So pretty much or almost 46. So why do we like the over for this situation? And this one is just kind of a no-brainer to us. We definitely see someone like Jaime Jaquez Jr. going on the over here due to the fact that when we look at New Orleans Pelicans, they are a very poorly defensive team. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the actual, over for this situation here. When we look at someone like Jaime Jaquez Jr. against Miami, we do, for Miami against a team like New Orleans Pelicans, we are definitely just expecting him to have a little bit of that hot hand that he has had as of lately and be able to just translate that into this next game for sure. Now, looking at actually also what the pros do have to say about it. Now, we have him for points and rebounds, and we have him for 20.5. However, the pros have him for 20.5. So it is a little bit different there for sure. So it is really difficult to really actually go off what the bookies are saying because the bookies actually have him for even. So they have him for exactly minus 137 for over, minus 137 for under. So that's actually even for it. So we can't really justify whether they're for or against with what the bookies are saying. But projection wise, we are going against that because they actually haven't projected for 17 points and rebounds. But we do very much like the over for this situation here. So coming into this matchup, we are definitely liking the over, and when it comes to also this matchup, we are expecting the over due to the fact that when it comes to the pace of this game, we are expecting a pretty fast-paced game, and Triple J will probably take advantage of that on top of him already having a very high usage rate, and now he has been able to hit the over quite consistently. So coming into this next one, we do very, very much like the over for them. Now, when we look at his last 15 games, we also have seen him on a little bit of a hot streak as of lately as well. He pretty much went, a lot of games on a roll. If I do the calculations real quick, he had an 8 game in a row where he was able to go on the over, and this is against tough teams as well. So the fact that he does face off against a much easier team, we could definitely see something pretty interesting where we could actually see the over for someone like Triple J. So coming into this matchup, we do very, very much like the over for this one. Now, looking at also Triple J and also, his hot hand that he has had, we just definitely see that translating into this next game, no doubt. So Triple J or Jaime Jaquez Jr., 20.5 points and rebounds for more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Trey Murphy. So Trey Murphy, the great player for none other than New Orleans Pelicans, and this one is actually for rebounds and assists. So this one is another combo one for 9.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at, Trey Murphy, obviously we have had a couple of, picks from this actual game, but we have seen Trey Murphy go on the under in actually 4 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see on December 24th, faced off against Cleveland Cavaliers, actually had 8 rebounds and assists there. Then December 27th, faced off against Phoenix Suns, had 6 rebounds and assists in that matchup. Then December 28th, faced off against Phoenix Suns, had 7 rebounds and assists there. December 30th, faced off against New York Knicks, had 8 rebounds and assists, then 11 rebounds and assists against Chicago on January 1st. So it is pretty interesting to see. Obviously, looking at someone like Trey Murphy, we have seen him go on the under, as I mentioned, in 4 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is also 8. So it is significantly on the under there. Now, coming into this matchup, we do also know when it actually comes to, Trey Murphy and the New Orleans Pelicans, they face off against none other than actually Miami Heat. So we have touched on this matchup, a couple of times already, but just to quickly remind you again, Miami Heat rank 8th in the actual Eastern Conference. They have a record of 19 wins and 16 losses. And on top of that, they face off against, Pelicans, where Pelicans rank 15th in the Western Conference, and they have a record of of 8 wins and 28 losses. So as I mentioned before, obviously there is we have had a couple of picks from this matchup, but looking at where both these teams do lie, we now want to take a peek at Miami and where they do rank when it comes to rebounds and assists allowed. And we do actually see when it comes to assists allowed, we see that Miami Heat ranked 20th, allowing 27.1 assists per game. So they do rank somewhat in the mid-tier categories in that sense. And then when we look at rebounds allowed, we also do see that Miami Heat do rank 27th, as they actually allow 46.9 rebounds per game. So they do actually allow quite a lot of rebounds and assists. So why do we like the under for this situation? And a big reason being is that when we actually look at Trey Murphy, a big reason we like the under is that Trey Murphy himself just hasn't had that good of a usage rate as of lately. And this is due to the fact that we have seen a couple of changes when it comes to New Orleans Pelicans, the game plan that they like to run and the way they like to utilize Trey Murphy, throughout the last couple of games has been very different, and it's definitely led to a lot more of less usage rate for Trey Murphy in rebounds and assists. Now, on top of that, when we look at Miami, we actually do see that they do a fantastic job at restricting rebounds and assists to the forward position. So we definitely see someone like Trey Murphy going on the under in this case. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the under for someone like Trey Murphy coming into this game. Yes, we have seen him do a fantastic job here and there at times, but overall, the fact that Miami do a great job against his position, and also the fact that Trey has struggled as of recent with the new sort of strategies that Pelicans have been running, we definitely see him going on the under here. Now, looking at Trey Murphy and what the pros do have to say, obviously we have him for rebs and assists at actually 9.5, and when we actually see here, we do actually see that when it comes to obviously the projection as well, we do see that projection that they do have is 9.1. So they do actually have him projected favored for the under in this case. And because of that, we are definitely agreeing with what the projection is saying there. Now, when we look at also the last 15 games, we do see, yes, he has had some pretty good usage rate in the past. But as of lately, we have seen a very drastic difference, and we have seen a massive decrease when it comes to it. And that's why coming into this next game, we are expecting similar sort of game plan, similar sort of strategy from this Pelicans team, which is why we do very much like the under for it. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the under for someone like Trey Murphy III. Now, obviously, when it comes to his line as well, with all these things being taken into consideration, we are definitely expecting the under for it. So Trey Murphy III, 9.5 rebounds and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting to the next one, we're going to be talking about Jaden Ivey. So Jaden Ivey, as we all know, been playing great, and this one is a fantastic one for actually points, rebounds, and assists, or PRA, for 16.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Jaden Ivey, we actually have seen him go on the under in 4 out of the last 5 games. Now, this one is an interesting one because we saw on December 24th, faced off against Sacramento Kings, actually had 14 points, rebounds, and assists there. Then December 27th, faced off against Utah Jazz, had 15 points, rebounds, and assists in that matchup. December 29th, faced off against the LA Clippers, had 17 points, rebounds, and assists. Then 13 points, rebounds, and assists, or PRA, against LA Lakers on December 31st. And January 2nd, faced off against Miami Heat and had 6 points, rebounds, and assists there. So we have actually seen Jaden Ivey go on the under, as I mentioned, in 4 out of the last 5 games. And looking at his last 5, we also do see that he is averaging 13. So it is a little bit on the under, and significantly on the under compared to his line here. But as we all know, Jaden Ivey and the Detroit Pistons have themselves a very good matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, it is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams. Both I would consider somewhat top teams because, well, starting off with Detroit Pistons have been on an absolute roll because they currently have the number 1 spot in the Eastern Conference. and they have a record of 25 wins and 9 losses. So they've been putting, themselves on the map lately. They have a 73.5% win percentage there. They're also 12-3 from home, 12-6 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very, very good to see from them there. Now looking at Jaden Ivey and the Detroit Pistons, they face off against Cleveland, where Cleveland are still somewhat a top team, but they have fallen just as of recent because they currently come in at the 6th spot in the Eastern Conference. Now they have a record of 20 wins and 16 losses. So that's a 55.6% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 13-8 from home, 7-8 from away, and are currently on a 3-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see from them. Obviously Cleveland did fall quite a bit because they were in the top 3 at one point. And looking at where they do rank defensively, however, we do see that Cleveland Cavaliers do come in at 17th spot when it comes to points allowed, allowing 116.9 points per game. Then looking at assists allowed, we see that the Cavaliers do come in at 18th, so somewhat a similar position at 26.9 assists per game. And then rebounds allowed, we also do see that the Cavaliers do come in at the 21 spot, allowing 45.3 rebounds per game. So very, very interesting to see there. Obviously looking at Cleveland Cavaliers and also where they do rank, they do somewhat rank pretty low tier. So why do we like the under for this situation? And a big reason is that when we actually look on a per position basis, we do see a little bit of a different story because Cleveland actually do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the guard position. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. Now for someone like Jaden Ivey, we also have seen him do a fantastic job time and time again. But coming into this matchup, a big thing is that we also do know that Jaden Ivey has definitely gone on the under quite consistently, and this is due to the fact that Pistons have definitely changed a little bit of their structure, and it has led to a lot more of unders in this case, for someone like Jaden Ivey. And, his usage rate has definitely fallen just slightly, which is why he has been going on the under quite consistently. And we definitely see that being a huge problem there. Now, looking at someone like Jaden Ivey as well, but we also do know when it comes to Cleveland, they do like to play slow pace type basketball. And that's why coming into this game, we do and are expecting, Jaden Ivey to have a little bit more of a slower paced matchup, and slower paced game leads to less volume, and less volume leads to less opportunity to score, rebound, and play make, especially for someone like Jaden Ivey here. So for that reason, we do very, very much like the under for this one, and we definitely see him going on the under here. So I definitely would keep an eye out for someone like Jaden Ivey coming into this game. Now, when we look at what the pros do have to say, so obviously we have him for a little bit of a different line. Now, they actually have him for 15.5, while we have him for 16.5. But what we do know about this is that when we look at the projection, they actually have him projected for 9.1 points, rebounds, and assists. So literally half. So, they do have a very, very, high and strong projection that he is going to go on the under in this game. He did go on the under quite consistently, as I mentioned, in the last 15. So that's why coming into this one, we do very much like the under for this one. Now, when we actually look at the bookies, it is a different line, so it is really hard to justify, and go off what the bookies are saying in this sense. But looking at the last 15, it is very evident, at the 16.5, which is what we got it at, because obviously bookies have him for 15.5, so we are getting in at a very good rate, or very good line at 16.5. We have seen him go on the under in 80% of those games in the last 15. So Jaden Ivey, unfortunately, has done this on a very consistent basis. He has gone on the under quite consistently, and that's why we do very much like the under for this one. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the under for Jaden Ivey coming into this game. So Jaden Ivey, 16.5 points, rebounds, and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick.